pop culture, everything is permitted.
Welcome to episode 83 of Everything is Permitted here at Wade's Comic Madness. I am your captain and host, Julian Brown, alongside my co-hosts, the Man of Steel, Matt Reppert, and the Master of Puns, Brittany Tomes. Merry Christmas. How we doing?
Christmas.
Christmas.
I love it. People send so many different messages. Merry Chrysler. Happy Honda days.
Oh, God.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Kia days.
Yeah, it's weird that it's like in between, like, I'm so used to like New Year's and Christmas. I know they're always the same days apart, but like we have a midway show, so it's like
We
ooh,
do have a
slid into
midway
those
show.
DMs.
Indeed, we did. We did. How are you, good sir?
I am doing good. Got a new bed, got a new TV, so...
Ooh, what kind of
Whoop,
bed
whoop.
did you get?
It goes up and down.
It's a water
Oh,
bed.
did you get a sleep number?
No, not quite that, because we were looking at beds, and they had the ones where you have the individual things, the settings and all that, and I didn't like that little, because it's almost like two, like, twin beds, king length.
That's
put
how I got
together.
to sleep at my in-laws. Got to save room for Jesus.
Yeah, because I even said when we were testing, I'm like, even though I'm not saying I would, at some point I would put my elbow into that crevice and it would just drive me nuts.
Yeah.
You have to sleep one Baby Yoda apart.
Well, one pit bull in between us, trust me.
How are your eyes converting to a 75-inch TV?
So
A whole new world.
So I'm not going to lie to you. I didn't think I would notice a huge difference, but I guess there's something, because my old TV is about 5 years old. We got it when we moved into the house. And this one has like some kind of like point dot technology. Apparently it's like a really high end. It's like the third best TV you could get.
Nice.
And
Top 3, I'll take it.
yeah. And so, because like the guy at Best Buy was like almost creaming in his pants when he saw how much it was. And then my brother, when he came over to help me mount it, even he was like, no, this is a really good TV. It's a very, and
Did you go LG? Is it LG?
it's a Samsung.
Okay, yeah, Samsung and LG both have like really great TVs.
Yeah, and my brother was like pointing out stuff. He's like, if you go up close to most TVs, he goes, you'll actually see the boxes in them. He goes, this you will not. And he goes, it's because of the dots or whatever, how it works. So I don't know, but honestly, like I've been playing FIFA and everything. It looks even Destiny 2 looks amazing on it. There's a lot more crisp details that I couldn't see before, I think. So
I'm really happy that we went with when our other TV started getting like the blue, it crapped out basically. I was like, I'm not buying another cheap 4K set. Like if we're getting a new TV, I'm getting an LG OLED and I'm getting the 5-year warranty on it, because then I'll just get a brand new TV basically for free if that one cracks out. Yeah, there's something really sexy about
A new TV?
a new TV.
yeah, and it's
sleek looking flat screen.
and it's also cool because the TV has like smart features. So when I load up an Xbox game, it actually detects that and says entering game mode, and it actually adjusts the
nice.
picture
It shifts.
because of and you actually notice it. That's what's funny is you do notice it.
And Brittany, you've been streaming some Cyberpunk.
I just started streaming Cyberpunk. So the other day I was just testing it out to make sure that my like Twitch and YouTube, everything was connected. So I was like, oh, I'll just start playing Cyberpunk and like see if it comes up on Twitch. So I was watching at the same time and I was like, it looks good. How's the frame rate? Blah, blah, blah. And then next thing I know, people popped up in the chat.
Yep.
And I was like, oh shit, I guess this is episode 1 or session 1. So yeah. It was a good time.
even after the update, the game's still fucking crashing on me.
I haven't had too many
oh
crashes, honestly. I've had some issues
I
where
crashed the car once.
It's easy.
Well,
the driving is not
I didn't
good.
realize how sensitive the
so
controls
sensitive.
are. So I immediately took off and it was like, "Argh!" And I like did a fucking donut and then hit a cactus. And I was like, okay.
Are you Nomad? What are they called?
Are you
Yeah,
Nomad?
I think I'm Nomad.
Street Kid, Nomad, Corp.
Nomad sounded so Mad Max, and I was like, this is it. I have a mohawk.
Completely
Let's
is.
go.
So Brittany and I are Nomad life, you're Street Kid life.
Street Kid, baby.
My guy,
Don't be nomad about it.
Yeah, my guy is actually pretty over leveled for most of the because I've just been doing all the side shit.
That's
so
me too.
And those little like assault things that happen around the city, my guy will run in just barefisted.
Oh my god! When I did like the fight tutorial, I kept making sound effects, like doing it. Like, people like, can you calm down?
Man.
Like,
Good
no.
stuff. Good
Parry.
stuff. This week we had two big movie releases that would otherwise be major Christmas theatrical releases, but instead we've gotten Wonder Woman 1984 and Soul from Pixar on HBO Max and Disney Plus, respectively. So we're going to review both of those films on today's show, and we already were wholeheartedly talking about Wonder Woman off mic, and it's going to be steamy.
It'll be interesting.
I can rant about everything.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Before we get into our show, hey, Brittany, how can people go about supporting it?
If you want to support us, head over to www.everythingispermitted.com, and then you can hit our drop-down tab, click on Patreon, and it'll shoot you over to our Patreon page. There you can select $2 a month or $5 a month, however you would like to support us or however you're able to. And either way, you get cool perks and bonuses like awesome stickers for our show that work on laptops, cars, anywhere really. Flat, solid surfaces. And mine's still on my car. Like,
mine too,
we've had
after
rain,
all
snow,
the
sleet.
storms and
It's
shit.
legit. Sometimes people just see it on my car and they're like, can I just have a sticker? And I'm like, listen to our show, and yeah. Anyway, so yeah, if you sign up for $5 a month, you become an EIP VIP, aka an EIP VIP. And then you have access to awesome bonus pods that are separate from our normal show and really awesome, or just focus on a specific theme like a specific game or movie. Or
January's
like
bonus
Cyberpunk.
pod is going to be Cyberpunk.
Yeah, I'm going to run it. I'm going
Which
to rant
is
about all
like
things.
100% patron funded because patrons helped Brittany get Cyberpunk 2077
thanks,
to
guys.
review. So that
You
is
me
gonna...
feel like less of a cyberpunk for not buying the game immediately.
God.
Womp, womp, womp. You sound like a car revving up again.
I had to rev that one up.
That's what happens in the game.
It does. You crash your car so much.
So
Anyway, sorry.
what else was I going to say for $5? I think that's pretty much... Oh, you get to also join our cool little Facebook group where all the EIP VIPs come together, and you can talk to us about a bunch of stuff, share memes, come up with ideas for what you want us to talk about on the show, whatever. You can rant about if you just saw a movie and you're like, how do you feel about this?
Yep.
So yeah, it's very rewarding. It's fun, and totes worth.
Totes worth indeed. And Matt, if people can't support our show financially, how else can they go about doing so?
By going to wherever you listen to Everything is Permitted, whether that be on Podbean, Apple Podcast, YouTube, whatever, and give us a thumbs up, a 5-star review, a like, a subscribe, whatever. We appreciate all of it.
Indeed we do. Indeed we do. And I'm going to do something different this week because I never do the thanks.
Oh,
Yeah, steal
shit.
it.
So I'm going to do the thanks for the first time. I would like to thank our awesome patrons, Billy Peets, Heather Reppert, Rob Migliaccio McCavity, Michael Cox, Nikki Veazey, Matt Moore, Cabria Wimbush, Rob Carter, and the McClinton brothers, Kyle and Connor. Get to the ringer matches next.
I wonder how they feel about that. We do it every time.
Well, they
Like,
will let us know. I'm
Yeah.
sure they love it. I'm
they
going to
love it.
hope that
They feel
love it.
special.
They would let us know if they didn't. I would
Yeah,
think.
we should call them the McClan.
the McClan. Ooh, I like
the
that.
McClinton clan.
So I want to say thank you to all of our awesome patrons, and you too could get a shout out if you join our Patreon. So let's get into some rants and raves.
Let's go.
Who's got something this
Woohoo.
week?
Who wants to go first?
I feel like ours will be surrounding the shows we're going to talk about.
Nope.
The movies.
What?
No, I just mean like I'll have a lot to say later for those. But did anything happen this week?
Christmas.
What even was this? Oh, Christmas happened. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You know what I mean? I meant like other than that. Rants and
Did you guys get anything good for
raves.
Christmas? I'll ask you that.
Yeah, I got my tattoo.
Yes. You guys got me stuff. I got good stuff. Hawk got me a cool T-shirt.
Yeah,
That's
Hawk got me a cool
X-Files
T-shirt,
and
too.
X-Men.
Yep, you got me an Ahsoka shirt.
My parents paid for my next car payment, so that was awesome.
Oh, nice.
So it's like a month I don't have to pay for that bill. Oh,
Yeah.
it was a good Christmas. It was chill. I feel like it was relaxing. I like as much as like the pandemic sucks in general. It's kind of nice to have a year where it's just like you don't have to just deal with stress, I guess, around the holidays. It's nice to have like you realize like, oh, this is how a holiday can feel when it's just like my house.
I'm like ridiculously excited and happy that I did not have to go to my family's for Christmas this year. This is how I would do Christmas every year. I hope you're not listening, but it's the truth. It is so fucking stressful every year. We were FaceTiming with my brother yesterday, and we were talking about how like it's both a little sad that we don't get to see our dad, but it gets so fucking chaotic at my dad's house. It's like relaxing to not have to deal with the bullshit.
Yeah, and
So.
especially if you host family at your house, like we usually do for certain holidays, and it's so nice because I'm like, okay, I don't have to, like, one, it's like talking to people when you're here, they ask you the same things. Oh, what are you doing now? What's your job? Like, it doesn't matter if you're in college or what.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you see me on social media, you know exactly what I'm doing. Shit's the same. I work every week, whatever. But aside from that, it's like you get tired because, like, you cook, you clean your house, you get all the stuff ready, people come over, you have to entertain them, you have to interact. And then, like, mentally, at some point, I'm also like, this is, like, my one day off, so can I just chill, play a video game, maybe not talk to people? But yeah, sometimes it's fun and, you know, you enjoy people coming over, but then there reaches a certain point where you're like, I'm kind of ready for people to go home.
Yeah.
And then sometimes
hell
you
out
might
of
have
here.
people in your family that show up later or at different times because they're like, I got to go to this house first, then over here. And then, like, the first wave of people leaves, and then you have another wave. And I'm just kind of like, I'm done, though. I want to be in my jams. I have work tomorrow morning. You're like, I got to go to sleep. I should have been asleep an hour ago. What's going on? So, yeah, I didn't have to worry about any of that. Wore my pajamas. No, I did dress in normal clothes. But I was able to change in my pajamas and watch TV with my mom.
I was in my pajamas for 48 hours straight from Christmas Eve to Christmas, and
Nice.
then yesterday I finally put pants to take Cecily for a bike ride.
Yeah, I wore pajamas. Yeah, I don't think I showered on Christmas until, like, later. It was like 7 p.m. Yeah, it was like right before I did Cyberpunk. I was just like, yeah, I'll shower, and then I was like, oh, I'm just going to just stream Cyberpunk.
There you go.
Or whatever
All
day
right,
that
then.
was. Maybe it was Christmas Eve. I don't know. We watched all 3 Die Hards in a row.
That's
I know there are 4, but HBO had the first 3, and I didn't feel like watching the 4th anyway. So my mom and I just watched it.
There's
Watched
actually
all
like
3.
5 of them. I think.
Yeah,
Probably.
Live Free or Die Hard.
I thought that was the 4th one.
There's one after that. A Good Day to Die Hard.
Oh, so yeah, I did not see the 5th one.
Die Hard 2, Die Hard
Die
with
with a
Vengeance.
Vengeance.
I love Die Hard with a Vengeance. I love that movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, we watched all 3 because I was like, Christmas Eve, let's watch Hans Gruber fall off Nakatomi Plaza.
Yeah.
And my mom's like, we haven't seen these in so long. It's fun. Let's watch them.
Matthew.
What am I gonna rant or rave about?
I like how that wasn't even really a rant or a rave. I was just like, what happened this week? Christmas.
Well, we'll call it a rant.
counts.
We'll call it a slight rant.
Rant, that was like a rant
Yeah.
hybrid.
Yeah, that's
A good hybrid vehicle.
Yeah, my
Good on
Christmas,
mileage.
you know, I'm not even gonna rant or rave either. I'll just discuss. My Christmas was also pretty laid back. It was at my brother's house for the first time, and I discovered that my nephew is like really enthralled by me, and without like, because he
Nice.
was like just constantly like coming up to me at my bro's house and everything like that at one point, and I had worked the night before, so I am like falling asleep
Yeah.
on the couch and all that. And at one point, my sister-in-law, Becca, says to Alex, my nephew, she goes, oh, what are you doing, Alex? And he goes, talking Matt, Matt and stuff like that. And like, he would bring me stuff and all, like, it was like nonstop. It was kind of funny because,
He's like, Matt, here's a cookie.
yeah,
Matt, what do you think about this?
basically, like he's not quite at the fully conversation territory yet, but it was weird to me because I've never had a kid like actively seek me out like that. Like most kids are generally like pretty like standoffish with me because of my size and all that. But yeah, my nephew was just all about being around me. It was kind of funny.
It's cute. Mm-hmm. I like that.
Nice. We love wholesome content on this show.
I don't want to be a Grinch or a Scrooge, so I'm going to do a rant and then I'm going to do a rave. My rant, though, I think is a wholesome rant, and I'm going to call some people out. I'm going to call Trek Twitter haters out for the body shaming. The amount of articles and interviews I've seen this week with Mary Wiseman, who plays Tilly on Star Trek Discovery, having to defend herself and just answer questions about body shaming. Like, it's fucking 2020. It's literally about to be 2021. Like, if you're gonna body shame someone, like, go home and fucking kill yourself. Like, seriously.
Isn't like 29-18 or something?
Yeah, whatever. Like, I don't
remember.
even fucking care. I don't care how harsh it is what I just said. Like, if you are gonna actively go on the internet, like, you are a fucking scumbag and do shit like that. Just like fucking just go away. It's incredible that people can't respect all different body shapes and sizes. And honestly, like, I don't
even like think about that with Tilly. You
no.
know what I mean? I'm just like, I don't even like look, and I'm just like, oh, like.
It's just
hate
like
every time I see it.
I'm so done with it, and I'm so done with these fucking gatekeeping basement nerds who are probably like 500 pounds and like, you know, like talking shit. Like, get the fuck out of here. And if you don't like a curvy woman, like, you're missing out too. I'm just pointing that out.
Bum, bum.
Yeah. So like, I can't. Mary Wiseman is fucking better than all of you, and just stop. Just stop.
Yeah, I'm surprised it's even like still. I mean, I'm not surprised it's still happening, but it's kind of ridiculous. Like, this is the 3rd season of the show, and I guess people for some reason still have to talk about her body. Like, it's weird to me because I literally, like, we don't think about it. We watch the episode, we're thinking of the characters, and we're talking about stuff, and then next thing you know, we see people saying shit on Twitter, and we're like, what the fuck is your problem? Like, what?
It's just ridiculous.
What are you doing?
Twitter sucks.
That's
one reason why I'm never
the
on
internet
it.
and social media in general, people can be so creepy and so shitty. So it's like one or the other. They're either harassing you or giving you death threats or rape threats, or they're fucking trying to be your best friend. So creepy.
So just enough. My rave is we got Cecily, or Santa I should say, got Cecily a real bike, like with training wheels, like, you know, the next step to her being able to like ride a bike without training wheels. And she blew me away at how good she is on it. Like she was just going like super fast. She's able to turn like sharp corners, and I was like, you are a natural kid. It's just like one of those like proud dad moments that's like really cool. I was really proud. I was really excited. So yeah, my kid's pretty awesome. Yeah.
She'll listen to this one day.
One day, she'll be like, oh, Dad. I hope. Maybe
Hopefully
not.
she gets to the beginning of the show.
Yeah.
Just like,
She's like, what the fuck are they talking about? Anyway, those are my rants and raves.
yay.
So, anything else? Anything?
Actually, I'm trying to picture like a child that was born during the MCU be like, oh, those old movies that like are big when I was like a baby. Oh man, weird. Anyway.
It's gonna happen. Time's whack.
Time
you guys
is
hear me
whack.
talk about stuff and you're like, ugh.
Time is
like,
linear and unchanging.
I was a month old. All right, guys. If that is it, let us get to
the permitted minute.
It's an permanent minute.
It's an minute. Hey.
Let's go.
It's a go.
Let's
Woohoo.
go. Let's go.
Boing.
We are. We're gonna go here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Mr. Gatus, start the clock.
The Russo brothers have their next project as they'll be directing Millie Bobby Brown in a new sci-fi film, The Electric State.
The 3rd season of Cobra Kai will hit Netflix on January 1st.
If you're an HBO Max subscriber, you're in luck. Batman the Animated Series and Batman Beyond are finally coming to the streaming service also on January 1st.
If you love the Tron Legacy score from Daft Punk as much as me, it's not game over. The legendary duo has just released an extended version of their iconic score in honor of the film's 10th anniversary. End of line, man.
Earlier this week, it was announced that Rangers of the New Republic will take place directly following the events of Return of the Jedi and headed up by Jon Favreau. Ahsoka, meanwhile, will be run by the man himself, Dave Filoni.
Originally certified fresh, Wonder Woman 1984's critic score continues to drop. More on this in our review.
Yeah, we did that with plenty of time. Not a lot of news this week because of the holidays.
Why, today's Christmas Day, sir.
Indeed. All right, guys, we are going to start the show with our review of Disney Pixar's Soul. And I think all three of us came directly here after watching it. So
I watched both movies last night.
Okay, so you watched both movies last night. Brittany and I.
Are we sold on this film? Yeah, probably. I tried to watch it last night, but Disney Plus does that thing it sometimes does where it just doesn't work at all. And I'm like, cool. So I watched it this morning.
Fascinating, Captain.
Yeah, it was so good, and we're going to talk all about it. Let's get into, as always, our... actually, before I do this, I just want to say it's actually really great to be reviewing a new movie.
Right? It feels nice.
I think the last movie we reviewed that was new was Tenet. And then we
I was just like, Cats. I'm just kidding. Cats started this all, damn it.
Jellicle.
Oh, my God.
I think that's the thing. All of humanity just needs to watch Cats again to end the curse. It's like Jumanji, you know?
Reset the timeline.
The Jellicles require a sacrifice, and it's not going to be me, but it might be one of you.
I mean, all three of us own it.
I do.
Sorry, guys.
It sits on my DVD shelf next to my bed, and every night before I go to bed, I see it, and I'm like,
Surprised you're not waking up with the McCavity nightmares every night. All right, guys, let's get into the critic score and audience score for Soul via Rotten Tomatoes. And the critic score is a whopping 97%.
Whop.
Whop. And the audience score is sitting right there at 90. So,
Whop.
you done?
Yeah, that was
You
like a
done?
good wop.
Whop, whop, whop,
You want-
Like one of them Fetty wops. I don't know what they mean.
Look, she really likes that Cardi B song, okay?
Apparently.
Ew.
This is...
I just remembered the acronym, and I was like, that's what that was.
I don't know the acronym.
Whopping around the Christmas tree.
Oh, God, please, no. I know what the acronym means. Stop.
gonna be remain blissful.
Did you use some wrapping paper for your presents this year?
Oh,
Sharif don't like it. Whop the Casbah.
Mother of God.
man.
I think I'm done now.
Okay.
Think of the children.
Did you see the Christmas tree in Wapafella Center?
I can't even get to this.
I think I'm done now.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there was a great sitcom on TV called 30 Wap.
What about that old musical genre, doo-wop?
Won't somebody please think of the children?
I should have.
Oh,
I didn't.
God. All right.
man.
All right.
Okay.
So we have a 97% and we have an audience score of 90%. Where are we sitting on that? Good, good, accurate?
I think it's accurate because
Yeah.
I rated a 9 out of 10. I know
Yeah.
we'll get to ratings later, but yeah. Pretty
I
good.
agree. Yeah, I agree with the rating.
I have some qualms,
Qualms.
but thematically, it was beautiful.
Well, let's get into it. Matt, how about your thoughts on Soul?
So I first of all, I'm going to say it was refreshing for Pixar to do return to form after the disappointment of Onward, which was our last Pixar movie that we watched. I loved the visual style of this movie, everything from New York City to the whole afterlife and everything in between. I mean, it goes from the bustling, just like God knows how much work had to be put in just for some of these city scenes with like all these vehicles and people walking and all this stuff. And then the quiet, more introspective stuff in the afterlife, or, where the lost, for example, where the lost souls are, and that, and like the little details of like when the ship moving through that sand, I guess I'll call it, and it looked so realistic. Like I could almost like reach out and like just grab a handful of that stuff and just throw it. And also I like Pixar a lot when they tackle complex issues, but do it in their own way, And so they tackle death essentially and what makes us in this movie. And I think they did a great job with it. And I like the message of what you think might be your driving force might not be your driving force. And that was like the theme and throughout the movie that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, it's kind of like how people focus so much about like, why are we here? What is existence? What is life really about? They don't stop to think that like life is simply meant to be lived. Like we are experiencing life. So if you focus so much on like what success or like what specific thing, like hobbies is great, but if you make your whole life your hobby, you're not going to experience the now. It's the same thing with working. I'm known to not have a good work-life balance. But like if you make your whole life about like having to work or do certain things, then like you're missing out on other things in your life. So I really liked the idea that it was just kind of like he learned to be in the now and to appreciate just living. I think a lot of people have to, and it's like part of our society. Like we're kind of forced to, you have to grind and work, and some people have to work insane amount of hours every week just to be able to pay bills, to survive, to be able to live, to afford to live. So this movie kind of like, it makes some little jabs like that where it's like, the human world, it fucking sucks. But it does so in a beautiful, moving way where it's like, just appreciate life, appreciate the effect you have on others. Like you don't realize, but if you always make things, like all about you or focus so much on one thing, you're going to miss out on everything else.
Yeah. Matt touched on a lot of what I wanted to say about this movie. I'll go as far as to say that this might be one of, if not Pixar's best animation jobs they've ever done.
Yeah, beautiful.
I can't even begin to talk about the detail that they put into the instruments and the finger motions, which has to take so much work of either playing the piano, playing a saxophone, playing a trombone, and making it look like that animated character is actually playing that instrument. I'm a huge jazz fan. My brother Carrie was, and I think maybe still is in a jazz band trio. So getting one, the score. If you didn't know, this was Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who just did a freaking brilliant job. But just every little detail, like you said, Matt, from making New York City feel like New York City, from just this being an animated film but feeling so realistic, and then going into that spirit realm and the beyond, and those characters just being just so different from what's real on Earth, and the Jerrys and Terry and the little souls. I just God, it felt good. And even though this was tackling as big a subject as death and what your purpose is in life, they did it in such a fun way, and I absolutely loved this movie.
And I think definitely like the animation, I know we've mentioned already, but this just shows that animated movies, they are an art form. And I know some people, like, they overlook or they don't put up animated films to be, you know, part of Best Picture. Like, they should be still in that same category, the same way that, like, other films, like foreign films and different things, like, everything should be up for it if it deserves it. So, wow, just, like, applause to all of the animators and, like, artists, whether it's, like, you know, visual effects or whatever, whoever worked on this film, even, like, storyboarding it or just coming up with the character designs, like, chef's kiss.
Yeah. I don't know if people watched all the way to the end of the credits, but this movie did have to be finished during the pandemic and at home. So you think about what a big company and how much work goes into each and every one of these Pixar movies. For this to be finished, however much had to be done, you know, is really incredible. That
it's like they put their heart and soul into it.
Oh, it is, Brittany. It really is. It really is. Let's talk about Joe's journey. Obviously, you know, we see him. He's very carefree, doesn't really want to be a teacher. He thinks he's going to get his big break being a jazz musician. It just never, ever seems to happen. And looks like he's finally going to get his shot. And then, boom, got to watch out for those New York City sewers.
Manholes.
Oh, man. What did we think about his journey from life to death to life as a cat? And then life again along with Soul Number 22.
First off, I'd like to say that he had to fall in a manhole to discover what it meant like to be a whole man. And go ahead.
Wrong, sir. Wrong.
Second of all, like, unfortunately, Joe's journey is where I have issues with the film. And I know I even mentioned it before we saw the film, that, like, as soon as I saw a trailer for it, I was excited, but then I saw what the movie was going to be like, and I was like, oh, not again. Because as much as I like his hero's journey and the fact that he helps another soul on the way to learn about, like, you should love life, you're ready to live, go out and experience life because nobody is going to experience it for you, like, this is what it's about, go do it. After he, you know, he learns to do that himself through them. It's the fact that, like, Disney, once again, can't give us, you know, a black main character without immediately removing them from 90% of the film. So you have him as a black man living his life. He dies very quickly in the film, or is in an in-between state, becomes a soul walking around with a hat, which, don't get me wrong, he still has Jamie Foxx's voice, still sounds like a black man, but he is a blue person walking around. And then, later on in the film, he goes back, but he doesn't go back into his body, he goes into a cat, and then Tina Fey is voicing him in his body. So you still have a good portion of the film where he's not even him. There's a white woman, a middle-aged white woman, as he says, in his body, living the life. Like, you still see aspects of, obviously, black culture. He goes to visit people that he knows. You see, that part was great. You love seeing New York. You love seeing these realistic groups. That was cool. But then you have the last, 10 minutes of the film, he becomes himself again?
More than that.
15 minutes? But overall, how long was this movie? I'd say 90 minutes of the film, he's not himself in his body. And but that is an issue that literally black people watching this film say immediately. It's the same thing with Princess and the Frog. You had the first black princess turn into a frog after the first 10, 15 minutes of film, maybe 30 minutes in if you're lucky. I don't remember exactly, but then majority of the film, she's a frog. You get her back, boom, for the last 10 minutes. And it happens all the time to POC characters. You have it happen in Brother Bear. He doesn't even actually turn back into himself in the end. He stays a bear. So that's fucking wild. But it's just a trope that, unfortunately, like, it makes sense in the movie because of what he's going through, and he has to experience, somebody else has to experience life in his shoes. He has to watch his life from the outside to be able to learn to appreciate it. Yeah. But it's just also unfortunate that it always has to happen when, like, the few times that a black character gets to be the main character. Spy in Disguise, same thing. Will Smith, cool spy, animated movie. You're like, this is going to be great. Turns into a fucking pigeon. Almost immediately in the film. Spends most of it not in his body. Comes back at the very end. So it's just, it's an unfortunate trope. So, but that's, like, I'm still saying this movie is a 9 out of 10. It's beautiful, it's thematic, but it is an issue. People don't realize it's a thing, but when you see it happen to yourself over and over again in life, it gets to you. And that was a huge response from people. They're like, I want to love this movie, but I'm tired of seeing this happen to people like me.
I'm hearing everything you're saying, and whether it's my place or not, I don't see it. I agree with it, and if people have that issue with this movie, I support it, and that your feelings are absolutely real, and I appreciate that. I don't see that. I don't see it.
And
me.
that's fine, and that's how some people will experience it. But
Yeah.
I knew just seeing the trailer that I was excited for it too, and it made me not want to see it again. I still did end up seeing it because, you know, I heard it was so good and we were going to watch it to review, but I thought the same thing immediately when he turns, you know, into a soul and leaves his body. I was just like...
I just feel like
There's
this is
just
what
gonna be another
Pixar
movie.
does, though. Like this is their animation. Like everything is always like that, whether it's a white character or a black character. Like it's always some wacky thing that happens to tell the story. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, look at Onward. I mean, they were literally fantastical
Yeah.
characters, but did they suddenly change? The dude changed in size, yeah, but he stayed himself the whole film.
That movie also sucked.
I know it sucked, but I'm just saying, look back through Pixar films. Like you have Toy Story, the toys stay the same the whole time. Like there's a lot
But they're
of
toys.
Julian. What I'm explaining is that there's a lot of cases where their characters stay the same throughout. Unfortunately, in Hollywood, doesn't matter if it's Pixar or not. I'm not saying it's just Pixar, but there's a lot of times that as soon as it's a character who's not white, they get changed. And I don't even think people consciously do it anymore. They don't realize because it's been done so much. They're like, oh, it would be cool if we did Brother Bear like this again, or this happens.
But to be fair, though, Disney has at least made movies where they don't do that. Like Moana is
Yeah.
a person of color,
That's
and
what
she
I'm
doesn't
saying.
change or anything like that. In
I
the
didn't say
movie.
it was every film.
No, I know you're not.
But I will say a lot
once
of people are upset about
No,
it.
and I
It's
understand that. I get it as well.
You know, I get it, and I it's understandable. I don't see it. I think that as far as a storytelling device, it works. It's still very emotionally like hits hard.
I mean, to be honest with you, you could have swapped out like a couple of things in the story. You could have had like a white person with maybe not jazz or some other musical, like rock music or something like that. Or
Yeah, thematically it made sense. Like I said, you have to be outside your body watching it to realize what you're doing wrong in life and how you're not experiencing it. I was just saying that unfortunately, like, it just happens again to this community that like they're like, cool, a movie about us, and they're like, but I don't get to see a black man on the screen the whole time for 100 minutes. That is him though.
But when Tina Fey is in his body,
I know you hear his voice sometimes, but a lot of the times it's her voice that you're hearing because you're as his perspective in the cat.
But you also okay.
You hear him as the cat. I
Okay.
know what you mean. Trust me, I know. And I said it works for this movie. It made sense, but I'm just saying that unfortunately, it didn't make me not like it. It's disappointing to see it happen again because it just won't stop happening. It would be great if it would just stop happening. Once again, 9 out of 10. Loved it. It's just a trope. I'll bring it up with Wonder Woman 2.
No, that's
Shitty
fair.
racist tropes still continue in films. It's how it is. It's not going to change unless we work on it.
weird bit of trivia though. Did you guys look up the cast list of Who Voice 2?
I saw that
I saw
David
some of
Diggs
them.
was in there.
Yeah,
He was the guy who
Paul.
like got freaked
Yeah,
out by because
yeah.
I was like, oh shit, that's David
Yeah.
Diggs.
Yep.
It was a really good cast,
It was a really good
and it was
cast.
funny.
I also
So
love
funny.
I loved the animation of the Jerrys and Terry, like just how they moved, how they were like almost just pure energy, the way they flowed.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And all that, and that was, but also one thing I did not like about this movie, and I know I've bitched about this before, is there is no goddamn villain. Why are there no villains in your Disney
Because
movies?
You don't need a villain in every movie.
Because they wanted to make the emotional weight. Sometimes you need the emotional weight. You have to remove the goofy ass villain.
I get that, but the thing is though, is that name me the last Disney movie that had a villain.
Well, they've just shifted to that way because they're,
Yeah, but it's
I know,
getting
I
tired
know.
at some point.
I know.
Mulan. Mulan has
that
a
wasn't
villain.
even Pixar.
No, but he said Disney.
Disney movie in
Okay,
general.
sorry.
Are you talking about the live action? Because that sucked.
Oh,
Yeah, no,
but you
but-
asked, I answered.
What are you talking
I
about?
was
You had
gonna
the
say-
witch and you had the dude.
The funny thing is, by a stretch, some people would even say Moana, but there really isn't a villain in that either.
Like Tamatoa
No.
is the
Yeah, I know.
closest you got.
I
and
know.
that's-
And he's Jermaine Clement. Like,
I love Tamatoa.
Oh, so
I love
good.
Tamatoa so much.
good. I don't have a problem with this movie. I don't have a problem with any of these movies not having a villain. I mean, Up had a villain, right? Like that dude was kind of a douche.
No, he was. That was a
like, he was
villain.
like a goofy,
Yeah.
evil madman.
Well, remember there was that point in Up though where he was like when he's just like, oh, like that prospector came by last year and he knocks over
Yeah, and you're like,
the
oh,
helmet
shit.
and he's just like, or this, and he just lets it drop like, oh god, this guy has murdered people.
Insane.
Yeah. Matt, what did you think about Joe's journey?
I thought it was heartfelt once again. Because I liked that. I can't remember if they said it explicitly or if they, let the audience figure it out. That the thing that kind of made him complete wasn't just performing for a crowd or music. It was nurturing other people and seeing them grow.
Yes.
Because I don't think I don't remember them having that eureka where he like openly says it like,
He doesn't.
that's my spark.
It's only through the
being a
flashbacks
teacher.
of his life. Yeah.
And then holding like the little seed of the oak tree and
Yeah.
stuff, or not
That's
oak
the
tree.
thing.
The
He
I know what you mean,
nourishes
though.
the seeds, and they eventually
Yeah.
will become a tree.
yeah, and I liked that a lot. And once again, I enjoy the subtle aspect of that. Because once again, like a movie doesn't always have to announce every single part of the plot to
Yes.
you. Like let the audience, let them like connect the dots in their head and go, yeah, that's what was missing. That's what his life is all about.
Yeah. I loved Joe's journey. I will say, to kind of agree with you, Brittany, I don't love the fact that he came back and was put in a fucking cat.
Yeah. Like he could have still had the journey. She
Yeah.
could have been the cat, and it would have been goofy. She would have been like, "Oh, I can lay in the sun. I can eat pizza."
Yeah. It doesn't. I feel like the cat just was like.
That's where I feel like it was
Yeah.
just kind of like not the best choice.
I feel like the cat was just like unnecessary. They could have gone about doing that in so many different ways. It didn't take away like much of the movie for me. One of my favorite moments is when the student comes and she wants to quit
Yes.
jazz. And she has that moment where, I mean, listen, this kid's like a prodigy when she's in the class and she goes off on her solo. What did they call it in the movie when you're
in the zone.
in the
You're
zone,
feeling it.
and she just goes off, and it's beautiful. This beautiful jazz
She's
music.
jazzing.
And she does her solo again with Joe, or 22, and it's just beautiful. She's like, oh man, like that was her spark. She was meant to play music, and she's wonderful at it. And the fact that she realizes that without Joe or 22 even having to say, you really shouldn't quit it. I think they do say it eventually, but she says, I guess I should keep at this, huh? And
Yeah.
it's
she just needed someone to listen.
yeah, it's such a great moment. I really like the talk with the mom. I feel like sometimes these Disney movies stay a little bit, not recently, but they used to say very like on the surface with like getting deep into like parental issues.
Yeah.
And this was like really deep and good, like calling out his mom for never being there for him. And
And it took someone else to say the
Yeah,
words
exactly,
for him because
yeah.
he was always too afraid to say it himself.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved that because that hit me hard because I was in a very similar situation years ago with my dad. I'd always wanted to say something, but I was just like way too scared. I just never wanted to confront him about being there. And finally, like, you get a buildup of shit that happens, right?
Yeah,
This build
that's
up, and
always
finally,
it.
it's like, fuck
And
it.
you like explode.
I'm writing this email, and that's actually like when me and my dad got close again. So it's like, and that's when they get close again.
Usually
in the
what it
movie.
takes, because then they realize
Yeah.
what they've done, and
Yeah,
then you're like, oh,
exactly.
yeah, let's
So-
try to rebuild this.
I thought that was a great moment, and listen, I actually have to give mad respect and props to this movie for him playing his dream and doing his dream and realizing that it wasn't all that it was meant out to be, right? Some of these movies are like, oh man, I'm doing my dream and that's it. And it's like, oh, big celebration, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
No, oh man, like that wasn't as cool as I thought it would be. Maybe this isn't my thing. And I have so much respect for that.
I did like the ambiguity of the ending because they don't say because he's like, well, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? Because they don't say I'm going to be a teacher or I'm going to go and keep playing those shows.
Yeah.
Because all he says is like, I'm just going to live my life
That's when
every
I started
minute of it.
crying. I was like, oh my God, dude. Oh, yeah. I know. I'm like, it's coming.
I triggered both of you.
Because that was like the whole thing. And that it's true that like sometimes you set up this specific thing. Like sometimes it's an event. Like you're
Yeah.
like, I can't wait so much until this happens. Like until I graduate, until I do this, until, whatever occurs. And even if while you enjoy the event while it's happening or whatever, you can't make that your whole life's purpose. Or like, there's a lot of times you finish something, you're like, well, now what? Like that stage of my life is done. Now what's the next part? Like, what can I do? And it's good to have goals so that way you start heading that direction. But I mean, I love that happened where he finishes it and he's just like, well, what now? And she's like, we do the same thing tomorrow. Or like, we're going to keep doing shows. And he was just like he'd been thinking so long of getting there that he didn't think
Yeah.
of what will I do after I get there. And that like hit him like a train because he was just like, it felt really good, but like it didn't suddenly solve all my life and all these issues that I've had. So then that's when he, realizes and thinks back and he's like, oh, I've lived life and I haven't been noticing that I have, or I've affected these people and like these people mean something to me and I just didn't pick up on it. So he'll do it all.
I will say that probably some of the things that I was kind of the Lost Souls I was very about, as well as 20, because as soon as you saw them, you knew that either 22 or he. And so that was one of those story beats that I saw coming from a mile off. And honestly, I didn't find the Lost Souls that interesting or threatening or anything.
No, they
like
could have
that.
done more
of
with
funny,
that, right? Yeah.
If that made any sense. Like, they were depressing because you know what happens. It's like when you feel lost in life.
Yeah.
But then it was funny when you saw like the accountant, like, you know those moments where you suddenly have enough and you quit that job that's treating you terribly or something?
I've done that.
Yeah.
It's great.
So that's why when he was like, yeah, I'm free, get out of here, and like flipped all the computers over, I was like, oh, that they're just explaining when you get that sudden feeling and then you like change everything, uproot your life, and sometimes it works out for the better.
Yeah. Let's talk about that spirit realm a little bit more, that animation, because it was so unique and so cool. Matt, you already mentioned it, like with the way that they were animated, and man, Terry.
I like the colors too.
Do you know that Terry was voiced by a woman? Rachel.
There were a few different.
I believe it.
I didn't know that. I thought that it was really cool because I would never have known. I love when things like that happen.
Yeah.
Was Terry voiced by a woman?
Rachel something. I don't remember her last name.
Rachel Dratch. Just kidding. Somebody.
I love the interactions between Jerry, all the Jerrys, and Terry. Terry's just gonna do his thing. Here's your trophy that you asked for, and he's like,
I'm taking it back. I love in the end when they're just like, yeah, we talked it over with Terry, and then they're just like, oh God, look over there right away, and dink. Oh, I don't even know what you're doing. I don't remember what we're talking about.
Yeah. Do we like how they portrayed basically going into heaven, quote unquote, or the great beyond?
Well, they didn't because once again, the great beyond, they didn't show the great beyond. They showed the great before. Yeah. You know, which is obviously like pre-birth and all that. So.
I like that he got scared because they were like being zapped into the light like bugs. So he was like, ah! And just like ran.
The only another question I have is, and like, because I know they said like hasn't happened like that a soul has gone missing. Like out of all the people that die, like this dude's the first one that's jumped off in like 100-something years. They said.
Yeah.
He's the only one who's been like, oh no, like everybody else, like, yeah, I'm cool with this.
Let's
do it.
Because he like didn't live life. So he like didn't understand, because most of the people in line, like that lady was like, I'm 106, like I've been waiting for this day.
Oh yeah, I get that.
Yeah. But still, there should be some people, like, even if they're waiting for it, they're just like, you know, megalomaniacs or something. Where like, I gotta go back, I gotta take all the money from the bank. I don't know why he has a 1920s voice, but I will say one thing I really loved was watching this movie with my mom. I usually always enjoy watching movies with my mom because she'll just like find so many things hilarious and like will heighten my experience of it. And we always cry when it's, you know, really heartwarming stuff. But also, like, she's about to have, like, a big surgery tomorrow, actually, tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow.
No.
Yeah.
I will
and,
be
like,
thinking of her.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like, since it's, like, artery-based and stuff, you know, something could theoretically always go wrong. But, like, for the most part, we know that this is something that's going to help her with a condition she has and stuff. But recently, I know that she's been stressed about it. I'm going to try not to cry.
You can cry.
One
it's
second.
okay.
I know. I want to be able to talk so people hear my voice without me crying. But I know she's like stressed about it, and she doesn't want us to like know she's stressed, but we can tell because of just some way she's acting. But like it's making her think a lot about life because she hasn't been able to like live the best the last few years because of her condition. And also like part of her's worried that like what if something goes wrong? What if I die? Like am I leaving enough money to my kids? Like however. So like this movie's like in particular
That's all right.
I'm sorry. Like was all about like living life and like, you know, learning to appreciate and experience life like while you're alive and stuff. And I could see how it was hitting her while she's watching it, and I think it helped her. Like it made her feel better.
Yeah.
That like God forbid something go wrong, or even if like maybe after the surgery it helps her a little bit, but she's still never able to have like the exact same sort of like mobility or life that she had before. Like I think it made her feel good about it. So I'm like, thanks, soul.
Disney Pixar has that effect, right? Like,
I mean, Inside Out helped me even figure out my emotions. I was like, it's okay to be mad and disgusted and happy at the same time.
I mean, definitely not the same situation at all. But I'm in a weird place in my life right now. Like, I feel like I devote so much of my essence and like my life right now
into what you love.
Well, no, yes, but I was gonna say into my children, who I do love very, very much. But it's hard to feel like I'm living my life to the fullest right now because it's kind of on hold while I'm like raising these awesome, beautiful kids. But it's very easy to fall into that. I'm like, well, they're like taking up all my time and like all my space, and it's been really difficult for me. And then.
But you're also being a good dad, and you're making your life
no, I know, and I love it, and I wouldn't give that up for anything. But the end of this movie, when he's like, "I'm gonna live my life to the fullest," that like made me like you said, kind of like it made your mom feel better. That made me like, that's why I started crying at the end. I was
Yeah.
like, this is making me realize like what I'm doing is what I need to be doing right now, and it's good. And like, yeah, part of the reason that I have these thoughts is because I'm looking like I think what we were talking about earlier, like I'm looking at like what happens when Caleb is 5.
Yeah.
Like I haven't worked since 2015. I mean, I've done things on the side and side projects, and I've started these podcasts, but like I haven't had a like real job since 2015 because my job is my kids. So like what happens when both of them are in kindergarten? Like, what do I go back to? Like, what do I do?
Yeah,
like,
what do you wanna
what
do?
is my
Like, yeah.
what is my spark after being a parent for 6 or 7 years full time? So yeah, like
Deep
this
shit.
movie, it's such deep shit, and I love that though. I love that these animated movies do that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get this shit from live action. I mean, okay, maybe some.
Yeah, but not always.
No.
Or the way they tell it doesn't hit you the same way.
Yeah,
Because they're bound. They're bound by constraints of live action in real life.
Yeah.
Whereas animated, you can do anything. You can look like anything. You can feel wiggly. I don't know.
Wiggly.
You can feel Jerry.
Yeah, I love that in the end credits, the souls were playing Duck Duck Goose.
Yeah, they're like, ding, ding,
it was so cute.
ding, cute little shit.
I loved this movie. I loved what it did, and I love that my kids loved it. Caleb, who doesn't sit down for long periods of time, sat for I think like all but the last half hour of this, and was like, "Wow!" and and "Oh no!" And Cecily watched the whole thing. She grabbed for her Switch once, and then I took it right out of her hands, and
Like,
she
no.
Don't you dare.
Yeah, I
You're
was like,
going to learn today.
we are not having Switch time.
We're having an
and
emotional
she finished
journey.
and watched it and loved it. So, I thought it was fantastic. Anything else anybody wants to hit on before we get to our scores?
I want to make a WAP joke. But,
Don't do it. It whopped my heart. No, for real though. I really enjoyed every minute of Soul.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything that I
yeah.
didn't enjoy. I loved it.
All right, Matt, why don't you give your EIP film reel score out of 5 souls?
I will give it a 4.5. I'm not going to say it's a perfect movie, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
I gave it a 9 out of 10, so math-wise, that is also a 4.5 out of 5. So I will give it that because it's really great animation, really great Pixar stuff. Like, literally, that one qualm is, like, the only thing I had with
Yeah.
it. The rest of it was awesome. I thought it was such an interesting, like, way to go about it. It was kind of like the same way that Inside Out, like, it did what it did in a way that you were like, how's nobody done this before? Or, like, or portrayed it this way to like explain it. So I think it's a really great way to explain not only just to kids, but like it's an everybody movie. So like we watched it and we were like, oh shit, you're right. I have dreams and goals, but I'm gonna live my life better. Like stuff like that. So 4.5 out of 5 because it's almost perfect, but it's flawed like us humans. We're not all perfect.
Indeed. I too am going to give it a 4.5 out of 5. I love cats, but I could have done without the cat in this movie. And I can, even though I don't necessarily see it as Brittany does, I can see where, the Black community could have issues with this happening yet again in the film. So
You hear that, everybody? Julian said he loves Cats, the movie. So
No.
I love Cats
It's
the
a cat
musical. There's a difference.
Jellicle,
There's a difference.
Jellicle.
I'm still waiting for the butthole cut, Universal. Still waiting. Still waiting.
Do you like the part in the movie where like he's holding she's holding the cat
yeah,
to like
yeah.
press the button and then like the butthole happens like where he's like my mom laughed so hard because our cats constantly do that. They're like butthole and you're like ah!
We did not mention like the most important character in this movie, and that was Pizza Rat.
Oh, Pizza Rat almost stole the film for me because I was like, no fucking way.
Dude. Fucking Pizza Rat, baby.
Yeah.
Fucking
Who
Splinter
hasn't
bringing his
walked
pizza
around
to
New
his
York
turtles.
and seen a
Oh
rat
my
eating
God.
pizza?
I mean,
Who
I
hasn't?
grew up there, so I've seen a lot of shit. Anyway, 4.5 all around for Soul. If you have not seen it yet, it is a must-see, one of their best animated features ever, animation-wise and story-wise. Please check it out. It's streaming on Disney Plus right now. You can get a free trial of that pretty damn easily. I think they just want your email.
It's definitely worth the free trial.
Yeah,
Like
so-
just do that and then log out.
Yeah, or don't. There's other good shit on there too.
Stay in there.
Watch The Mandalorian if you haven't watched it yet. Watch the making of season 2, which they just dropped, which I can't wait to do.
I'm pretty certain like every human being that exists has seen Mandalorian at this point.
My buddy Vin just started watching it, and he's loving it.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Season 1
Takes
or
some
season 2?
constraint.
Season 1.
Jesus, man.
Hey, there's people.
Damn.
I mean, there's also people that just like have no time. Like Wade's still on season 1 of the show, and he like so many people would come and talk about season 2, and he's like, "Stop! I haven't watched it yet. I'm not even there." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh."
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Soul is streaming on Disney Plus right now. Switching over to the other streaming service, HBO Max. We are going to talk about
Take it to the max.
Take it to the max. Wonder Woman 1984, directed by Patty Jenkins, her second time around in the Wonder Woman universe. And as always, we will start with our critic and audience score. Now, this is a bit of an interesting thing that happens. It doesn't happen this fast a lot of the time, but Wonder Woman was certified fresh. It is not anymore. The score has been dropping and dropping, and that's not the audience score. That's the critic score.
Yeah.
So I actually find that interesting. Usually the critic score stays at a pretty normal average. It's just been dropping and dropping. I'm sure that has to do with COVID and when people can watch it either in a theater, because it is in theaters if theaters are still open in your state, or overseas, and also streaming on HBO Max. So I don't know what score it started out to make it certified fresh, but now it is at a 65%, which is not great. It's not horrible, but it's also not great. Audience score, 72%. That's respectable.
C's get degrees.
Yep. There you go. So 65 and 72% respectively. We were talking about this movie a lot off mic before we started. Is this, we agreed with it for Soul. Do we agree with it for Wonder Woman?
I think Wonder Woman should be less.
I agree with the percentages they have on here. I think if you watch this movie critically, it is a 60. If you watch it just as oh dear God, we're in a pandemic, just give me anything, I just want to not think and watch a movie, then yeah, it's a 70.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I would agree with that. I'm curious how it dropped this far. Not that I'm saying it doesn't deserve that. I think it, again, we watch these movies to both have fun and review them. So is a critic score 65 accurate? Yeah, I'd say so. But I did go into this movie yesterday just to enjoy it, and I did.
Yeah, zero expectations.
Yeah, and it was fun. It was fun. Is it a masterpiece by any means? Absolutely not. And we're gonna get into that. So we started with you, Matt, for Soul. Brittany, we'll start with you for Wonder Woman. What are your initial thoughts?
Wonder Woman. So once again, just as I said for Soul, the message of this movie and the themes in it, I think are the driving force of the movie. I love the themes that both those movies presented. So as much as Soul was about, learning to appreciate life and live or whatever, Wonder Woman was a lot about, what does it mean to be successful? And, does success matter if, you have to give up all these things along the way that make you who you are? And also, it's, learning to move on after you've lost somebody, whether that's them passing away or, losing a friendship or losing any sort of relationship with your life. Eventually, you have to stop standing still. You have to stop pining, for better, for lack of a better term.
You're welcome. No.
The thing is, she was stuck in this rut. She was doing her thing, saving people, but she needed to move on, and I think that's what they focused on this movie. I don't think it needed to happen per se. I'm fine with her having moved on just immediately after, not immediately, but after a few decades after his death.
After
she's good.
70 years almost, one would think you'd move on.
But that being said, because the trailers of this movie, or from the initial artwork from the movie after the first one happened, they announced it pretty quickly after the other movie ended, after the first movie, because they were the next one's going to be 1984, and we're what? And it already seemed like it was going to be this weird, it was either a dream thing or an alternate reality, what's happening? They were it's not really going to be connected, doing its own thing. Steve Trevor will be back. So I knew immediately, I was this has got to be an alternate reality or something where it's he's going to disappear.
Yeah.
I think they did it because they liked the chemistry. They knew it worked for audiences, and there's so many times in comics he gets killed off, he comes back, he's possessed bodies before. So a lot of it, I was I see where they pulled these from. But yeah, thematically, I get why they did what they did. So the themes I liked. Pacing definitely had some issues and stuff. I know we're going to get into it. And then also, unfortunately, there's just some tropes that I was I get it because it's a cheesy... If you watch this just to be a cheesy 80s movie, it's a cheesy 80s movie. Let's be honest. But yeah, you can't watch it with the critical eye of this needs to be a now film. Because it just went straight cornball like Superman 1 through 3.
It really did.
And it wanted to be. It did not want anything to do with the DCEU. They hardly mentioned it, and when they did, it was like just to make this movie make sense of why it was even occurring.
Well, it's like they only referenced, I think, the first Wonder Woman movie. I think that maybe they referenced those.
Well, they had a lot of references in it.
Yeah.
And they even had some other stuff they were like hinting in there that like should happen in the DCEU. Like she even has a book on gorillas in her room, and you're like, Flash stuff?
Wrong.
Anyway, wrong.
Matt, your thoughts?
So I went into this movie expecting to enjoy it because I saw your guys' posts on Facebook about it. And so I was like, all right, I'm looking forward to this. I love the first Wonder Woman movie. I didn't enjoy this movie. I really didn't. Now I know, and I know Brittany's gonna say this.
No, go ahead.
But
I'm fine with people not.
I know that some of the things they were trying to go for about like some 80s movies tropes, and I can tell you right now, those tropes sucked back then.
They did. Yes,
they were fucking
did.
terrible.
I agree with them.
When Chris Pine was trying on the outfits, I literally almost said out loud, like, where the fuck is Wonder Woman? Like, as I'm watching Chris Pine, like, come out of the dressing room and her just going like, no, with like the different 80s outfits. Like, we fucking get it. The 80s was a weird, trippy, goddamn decade. Please give me more Wonder Woman in your Wonder Woman movie.
And that was actually Karen's big complaint at the end of watching. She's like, I just wish there was more Wonder Woman in there.
And then, of course, they mostly depower her, or at least like lessen her powers.
I don't have a problem with that. I actually thought that was
I don't mind
unique.
it to a point, but the way they did, because it's one of those things where it's like, I know she's going to let him go and get her powers back. I know this. There's no mystery to this.
Cry.
There's no mystery to this. And once again, like, I also know in the back of my head that the dude she's talking to is not Steve.
Him.
It's a dude whose body he inhabits, and also going into.
I don't get why they did that.
No,
they should just had him show up.
Yeah, they
really
should have just
dumb.
had him appear. I would have been like, okay, fine. It brought him back.
I had a massive issue with that.
Because also because as soon as they showed that he was in some, I'm like, he basically has murdered some other dude. Like, that dude doesn't exist right now.
Took over his body.
Yeah, that dude. He's like, I wonder if that dude's like screaming in the back of his mind, like, let me out. I'm stuck in here. But yeah, also the Chris Pine, like, oh, that's a trash can, Steve. Like, ha. It's
oh my
so
God, you sound
funny.
like sound like my father right now. I love it. I love every
No,
second
but
of it.
once again though, is that like I've seen those tropes from 80s movies and most of them sucked. Because when you make me think of a movie like Beastmaster 2 Through the Portal of Time or the live action He-Man movie, I'm telling you right now, that is not a good thing to bring up. Be like, hey, you remember that shit from the 80s
You mean
didn't
you don't
like?
want to hold a snow globe and go, for Eternia at the end? Fuck you. I love the He-Man movie. Beastmaster, you are 100% correct about.
Long life.
They had a fucking, what was it, like the theremin or the
God.
fucking music thing? Oh, Jesus Christ. Sorry, I'm thinking about He-Man now.
So
I agree with everything you say because
I do too.
Unfortunately, as much as it went 80s, it went too 80s sometimes where I was like, oh, honey.
I have a feeling I'm gonna end up looking at this movie the way I did with
Rise of Skywalker?
Thank you for taking the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, with Rise of Skywalker, because I left the theater first having a few issues with it and be like, okay, but like this is good. And then I saw it again and I was like, oh wait, this is maybe good. And then the third time I was like, no. And then without ever wanting to watch the movie again, even though I eventually will, I'm like, holy shit, Rise of Skywalker fucking sucked. It like might be my least favorite Star Wars movie. And this was fun, which is what I said on my Facebook post. It was fun, and I got really excited at the beginning of the movie when they're back in Themyscira and she's doing like the Olympics, and that whole sequence was badass. And you get
other than to bring Robin Wright back, what was the point of that?
But I
scene?
loved
It was just to show a time where she learned a lesson, but then she's not really going to put it together until the end of the film. It's
and
the
like
same
I don't
thing
even
first
care
movie.
like what the point was. It was great to see Robin Wright and Carrie.
The mom.
The mom, Carrie. I always forget.
I
the
don't
Queen of
remember her name.
Themyscira. Yeah.
I love that scene. I was like, oh man, are we gonna
Do you
get
want to know
like?
a fun fact? I was gonna let
fun
you
fact
finish.
me.
Okay.
Is it a fun fact or is it just
no,
a fact?
it's a fun fact. The little girl that plays her, it is the girl from the first movie, obviously, because she looks the same and stuff. But she actually did all of her own stunts there because they tried to have other like little girls that were like gymnasts and different things like do the stunts and stuff, but she could do it all and better than them. So they were like, oh shit, we're just gonna keep this little kid.
Yeah.
And so all of that. She did it all. The only CG there is when the thing swings back over her, and she has to like lay down real quick, and that's because they weren't going to swing a real log thing over a fucking child.
I loved everything about that. So I was like, oh, this is going to be a cool movie. And then it gets into what Matt's talking about with the 80s tropes. And my first big kind of like, oh no, with this movie is the thugs at the beginning in the mall when they're raiding the
God.
thing. I mean, I get that you were going for 80s cheese acting.
Oh, it was cheesy, yeah.
But like you took it and almost made it worse than 80s cheese acting. Like,
and this is where they went hard, like we want to feel like Superman territory, like an 80s. Like it was just, I feel like they were trying to hit on nostalgia a lot, but like they could have made it 80s, but still had like believable, I guess, villains that we have now.
And like they went so hard. Like, you know what else annoys me about this? They added hardcore film grain to this movie. Like this is supposed to be like.
Anyway, that's just her theme song.
It is. I love it.
Did they use that at any point?
They did.
Oh
yeah, they used it a bunch.
They it in the background.
And
too.
Hans Zimmer did the score this time, and the score was really good. I hated that they added film grain because like I could still believe it's the 80s and still have this look like a pristine 4K UHD movie. Like, come on.
They wanted it ingrained into your brain.
don't have a problem with Steve coming back. I have a problem with him taking over dude's body. Because
that's the thing.
whether that, if you're going to go deep and talk about that being like mind rape and whatever, it just takes you out of the movie because you know it's not him, whether they put Chris Pine's face on the guy or not. Like, it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, just as was already mentioned, just bring him back.
Yeah.
Just have him appear, and he like maybe whether it be like Terminator style, he drops in like naked. Like
Crazier
what the fuck
shit,
is happening?
Crazier shit happened in the movie than a dude randomly coming back.
And the weird thing is, they already showed he's in the trailer, and you knew he was going to be here and wearing that outfit. So it was weird when right away in the party, the guy comes up and then she turns around and it's like not his face, but wearing the same outfit. I was like, don't tell me he's in the body. Like, ugh. Yeah. That made it yucky to me.
A lot of what I want to talk about is in the pacing. The movie was way too long.
Yeah. A lot could have been cut.
Way too long.
A lot could have been cut.
I love the score. I will just continue just pining over Hans Zimmer and
pining. There's a lot of Pine references here. I love Chris Pine, but I still don't think he really needed to be in the movie.
Let's go into it. Actually, let's talk about the pacing of
Just
this movie because it had a lot of issues. Did the movie need to be 2.5 hours plus?
No. I'll say it right now. And I think the only reason they even tried to is because they were like, about how long was the first movie? Okay, we'll do that. It was that plus 10 minutes. But I was like this. There were scenes that didn't have to happen, or like they could have condensed a little less world hopping for things. I get why they had them go to Egypt, because literally in 1984 there was a big oil thing in Egypt. But at the same time, if you're going to use someone who doesn't exist and then you're going to talk about a country or a certain area that doesn't exist and it exists within the DC universe, like just...
Yeah.
Don't do what you did with that, because I was like, I'm uncomfortable. And then people also, already had issues with Gal Gadot being cast because she's an IDF soldier and has certain stances on things that are happening in the Middle East.
Yeah, this was not a good move.
That wasn't in the best taste, I'll say. Some people didn't even like the fact that she like swoops in and saves those kids because they're like, oh, but you've said stuff in real life. Yikes and a half.
God, I that whole time with those kids, by the way, I'm like, they're on a desert road. Did they not see these vehicles coming from like 10 miles away?
I feel like that scene only existed to show that her powers were getting lost. So that even apart from like the lock, where you're like, that was weird, but they're like, they really wanted to hint that like her powers.
They literally could have done those scenes in any other part of like the U.S. Like it just like that whole Middle East scene could have been cut from the movie.
Pretty much.
And like how are you calling internationally from a payphone like in the middle of nowhere? Like
It was the 80s.
It's also I didn't like most of the fight scenes in this movie because I compare them to the first one when, for example, when she slides into that room with the German soldiers, she takes the rifle and like smashes it across their back and everything.
When she breaks through the fucking window with the dude just like,
and where she slides and like slice like I
snaps
think
the thing behind her back.
And as I said, like she snaps the rifle like in half behind her back. Like I think of those moments from the first movie. And I just didn't feel any of that in this movie. I
liked the White House battle. I thought that was well done.
That was better. Yeah,
but she was also depowered.
Yeah. So. Well, okay. So this is one big compliment I'm going to give this movie. A lot of these movies, when you're and talk about tropes in movies, your superhero getting dispowered or her powers or their powers taken away in the sequel, Superman 2. I love how they portrayed it in this because where in Superman 2, like Clark just becomes feeble Clark again and like it becomes like a man baby basically.
I have words about Superman.
Diana doesn't stop. She keeps fighting and she doesn't want to stop. Even though she doesn't have power, she's getting shot.
Yeah.
But she's still kicking ass, and I respected the hell out of that. That they were like, "Oh, I have no powers, so it doesn't like I'm not a hero anymore." I'm like, she's still a hero.
I thought they established though, because one thing because even in the first movie, I thought she was still vulnerable to bullets. She just was able to really block them.
She is still vulnerable to bullets because that's why she has to use her bracers, or else she would just stand there and like not block. But she's like a little more invulnerable to them than like literally one bullet was like really messing her up, and like she did have to block so much before, but at least occasionally like she would have got a little cut here or there. But like this was like sometimes it was like, oh shit, like I really got shot.
But like she's not like Superman like impervious to bullets.
Yeah,
no. But going back to not great things though, they totally overused the lasso of truth in this movie. It was like everything she was doing was with the lasso, and I was like,
she was spinning it like Thor's hammer.
She didn't do like sword and shield sort of stuff. And then when she did use the golden armor, she used it ultimately as a shield. So it wasn't.
I knew that golden armor was going to be bad.
It was to glide.
Yeah.
It was. I get why they did it. But it was just like...
It was a comic reference that you said.
Yeah.
It was, a reference to her using it in the comics. And the thing is, like, when she uses it in the comics also, it's, like, reflective of, like, she uses it defensively. It's, like, a whole thing. So it was cool. And I think it just went with the whole, like... I mean, the 1980s, they picked it for a reason to go with these wishes and desires, because it's, like, this whole vie de luxe thing where, like, everybody was... living it up in the 80s, and like you just greed. You could do whatever you wanted. You could like try to work your way up and take and whatever. And half the people in the world were like, well, it's going to be nuclear war anyway, so who gives a fuck? Let's not give a shit about the people lower than us or whatever. Which is why I like the Maxwell Lord's character, even if he's like different than in the comics, but in general. But I will say that I didn't mind her losing her powers. No. I mean, not losing, but like the slow deterioration of them, because like everything magic, usually within the DCEU, comes at a cost. So the fact that also it was like an ancient artifact, and then like they wish on it, not even meaning to, because she's just like, oh, if it did work in her mind, she's like, I don't wish for this. But, and I get that they wanted to show that even she was like, well, I'm such a selfless person. Like, I just want to have this one thing. Why can't I like have this one thing? And then has to ultimately let it go, because like, that's the thing. As much as she wants to be with him or whatever, like that can't be your whole life.
Yeah.
So anyway, I forget where I was going with that, but I was fine with her magically slowly losing her powers, but then having to get it back, because also leaves room for the bad guys to actually be a threat.
Yeah.
Because of how powerful she is, she would have fucked up Maxwell Lord. She would have fucked up Cheetah before she even got powerful. But I like how Cheetah like wished just to be like everything like Diana
she said it came with like an unexpected bonus.
But that means that her power matched like Diana's original power. So then as Diana's power is like decreasing, she's already stronger, right? And then on top of that, Maxwell Lord's like, what else can I get for you? So then even though she already has her wish granted, he like finds ways of adding more to her. So then she becomes basically like double the amount Diana was. So that made their fight later on more realistic in the power dynamics of it. Like when she's in the White House, I like that, because she was like, tried to lasso her, and she was just like, you can't even
bitch.
pull me.
Yeah.
I was like, fuck yeah, Kristen Wiig, in those heels, doing your shit, fucking up those guards. Diana was on the defensive, so.
I'll skip around a little bit here. I know that we had a lot of reservations about Kristen Wiig being this villain role. I mean, I think you and I did. I don't know about.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I did. Not.
I will say that I am surprised and very, very thrilled with how like good she was in this. I thought I would actually say she's the best part of this movie.
I will say I was cautiously optimistic because even if people go back to listen to the episode, we saw the trailer and I just said it was too soon to judge based on the trailer, and that I knew Kristen Wiig was a great actress. So I was like, if she was cast, it was for a reason. She had to have done something in her audition, or like they had to have seeked her out because of a specific portrayal. So like, yeah, she can play like the feeble sort of like a little self-conscious whatever archaeologist, which, you know, that's a trope in and of itself, which I also didn't like.
Oh God.
But
Selena
at the same
Kyle.
time, it made her transformation so much more believable because she shifts and she becomes a different person. Like my mom really enjoyed watching that because she would start to do these different things, and I was like, oh Mom, I was like, the heels, this is happening. Because like my mom didn't even know Cheetah was in this movie, so she like didn't know it was coming. But I told her straight up, I was like, Mom, she's about to become the bad guy. And my mom was like, well, who's she gonna be? And I was like, and then when she came out wearing the cheetah print, I was like, Mom, she's got the cheetah print on now. And then she's like, oh my God, like it was but it was just great to see like that, her slow descent, but also she was still like, I like that it wasn't because Diana like really shoved her out of the way or like did something, because you know they could have done that where it's like she ruined their friendship or whatever.
Like an Iron Man 3, like you didn't meet me on the rooftop, so I'm upset now.
Exactly.
No, her whole thing was like, I got this wish granted, and as much as
it just was taking her
much
over.
As much as I even like you, Diana, I'm not going to let you hurt Max because he's like the one doing.
Well, because she's like, you can't take it away, and I like that it wasn't jealousy that pitted her against her. She was like, I wanted to be like you, and now I am. I didn't realize that what you are is so much more than just a normal woman. But like, you're not taking this away. No one can take this power from me. So that was cool.
How about you?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by Kristen Wiig. I even actually liked her close up when she was in full cheetah, but I thought when she was full CG, it still didn't look that good to me.
I think it also wasn't a long enough fight to really be able to like take her in as full force cheetah. Because
the lighting didn't help either.
It was dark. Like there was a few different things I think they could have done to make it look better. But I did like, because at first in the trailers, they didn't show you a lot. It was like a quick, like half a second of her as Cheetah. And then people were like, oh, are they going full cats with it? Like, what is going on? So I liked that it was like
They didn't go full butthole.
They didn't go full butthole. And it showed.
Never go full butthole.
And it showed. But I liked that they had the practical makeup that formed into. Like, I feel like she also wore like a suit and then they CG'd on top of it.
Yeah.
And like we say so many times, hair is fucking hard to CG. Like using it for villains and bad guys and the weird hybrid of being part human and part cat, like there's just a lot that can go wrong there. Overall, I didn't mind it though. I was like, she went full cheetah. She went full fucking cheetah. I liked her before she went full cheetah.
I also did like Pedro Pascal. I thought he did a very good job at playing the kind of more sympathetic villain of, you know, he's trying to make himself great and everything. I hated his son.
Me too.
His son was son was an annoying little child actor that I was like, come on, like please stop bringing this kid.
He was almost Jake Lloyd worthy. It was bad.
Poor Jake Lloyd.
My name's Anakin and I'm a person.
Going back to Kristen Wiig real quick. This movie makes me want to see her not move away completely from comedy because she's very, very good at it. This
made people realize that she's not just like she's an actress. She's not just comedy.
I want to see her in more serious roles because she fucking knocked it out of the park in this. I absolutely adored her in this. Like I think we have all said already, like that, like her not full cheetah transformation, but like her being
her personality
like in the White House. Yeah. That was so powerful and so good and so believable. Moving on to Pedro Pascal.
I will say, knowing Maxwell Lord, I thought, like, he's a really fucking good actor. I thought he was phenomenal in this role. And the thing is, he was, like, supposed to be Gordon Gekko-y, mixed with, like, I don't even know if I want, like, they were basically trying to make him almost like Lex Luthor style. Yes. But he was such, like, a shady con man that I think he played it amazingly. Any problems I think that come with his character is like just the writing of it or the fact that they want him to be so over the top sort of 80s greaseball.
That's what I was gonna say. I actually thought that his acting itself was phenomenal. Like he's awesome. I loved his acting. I just did not like the character.
That's fine.
I think it does come down to writing. I think what he was given to work with, he did very well.
Yeah.
I just didn't buy it, I guess. I feel like they could have still made him that sleazy fuck while still having it be the Stone and not him become the Stone. Like you know what I mean? I feel like it was just, and I know that you thought it was cool with the effects of him, like kind of like bleeding out of like different orifices, but
I feel like the reason they made him become the stone is because they wanted a way to have him temporarily have the powers to grant people wishes. Because I remember in the trailer, I even told you guys, I was like, dude, like, they didn't announce that he was Maxwell Lord, I think, yet. Or maybe they did. I don't remember. But I was like, this guy has the power to grant wishes, which Maxwell Lord in the comics, if people don't know, he's not necessarily like a huge DC villain, but he does show up, or did show up quite often in older comics. And he had the power of suggestion. So he could suggest to people what to do. And like he had this sort of like magic property to him. But when he would use it, he would bleed out of his nose. This movie took it a little further, where like his eyes started like bleeding like internally and stuff, and then out his ears and stuff, because he absorbed too much power. If you're a human with a magical object inside you or a magical artifact, like that's fucked up. That being said, I think that the only reason they did have him absorb that was because they wanted him to have his powers, but they knew they were going to redeem him in the end. So they couldn't have someone with the power of suggestion continue. Yeah. And also, it would be too easy to just do this game of, like, cat and mouse and, like, who has it now? Now we have it. We're going to grant this. Like, he needed to have it so that way nobody could take it from him. And he was also had to be that megalomaniac, I guess.
Speaking of one White House scene to another, like, when he goes and meets the president, that's actually probably my least favorite scene in the movie. I thought that was very unbelievable.
I feel like it was just they wanted to Superman it again.
Yeah,
where it's like Lex Luthor.
It just didn't work.
The president.
It just didn't work. Let's go back to the '80s theme here real quick. We've said that there's some fun bits in there, but overall, do they get away with it? Does it work?
It to me it only they wanted to do have like kooky outfits and things with malls and all that other fun stuff. Like they wanted to take things from the 80s. I honestly, for the most part, I just kind of was like, eh.
I feel like they used the 80s and like they did certain things well, where like they didn't have to use like specific 80s pop songs to make you know it was the 80s. They used just like 80s sounding music in the background. But I think that they didn't have to go so 80s with it that they had to like keep reminding you it was the 80s. It's like, the X-Men films that they redid recently, or like the newer ones they did, one of them takes place in the 80s before like the animated cartoon happens, and like they have little references to it, but it's not like everything screams like this is the year 1984.
Yeah.
And I think that originally it must have been like whenever they named this movie or were thinking of the premise, that like that's what made me think it was an alternate reality, because it was like, why are you telling us the year? Is it going to diverge from ours or whatever? So like they could have just called it like, this could have been called Wonder Woman Dreams or something, or like Wonder Woman, like some cool catchy name.
Wonder Woman Wishmaster.
Yeah, something like that, or like
the name.
It could have been called like Dream Lord or something, like Maxwell Lord, like the Lord of Dreams or something. Yeah. Like, I just feel like them putting the year was just too on the nose with what they were doing, because like they could have called it that dream thing, and then it could have just taken place in the 80s. I feel like they just wanted people to know like what the whole. Maybe to just think, keep in mind, our whole thing is going to be super campy 80s, so we want people to know this is all it is.
I mean, I look at like a show like, say, Stranger Things, that obviously is set in the 80s, but they do such a better but they do such a better job at like making it feel like it's the 1980s, because most of the time when I saw Diana walking around, I'm like, this is a woman in the modern day. She's not like in the 80s or anything like that.
Yeah. She has 80s outfits and stuff.
Go ahead.
I will say that I'll bring this up more when we talk about the post-credits thing, because I have another feeling of why they did it. Like, so pushing the 80s so hard.
Let's talk about finally. She got to see more of her powers. People are bitching about this, which is one of my biggest gripes. Like, read comic books, people. She got to use her
invisible jet.
She got to do the invisible jet, which I thought was really
pleasantly
unique.
surprised by that, because I was like, I thought they were never going to do it. And my mom even said it before me. She's like, she's going to turn invisible, or something's going to be invisible. And I was like, they didn't have cloaking tech in the 80s, Mom. Yeah. And then it happens.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fucking ridiculous. I love it.
It was ridiculous, but it's fun. And that was a beautiful shot, like with them in the clouds and the fireworks. I like that.
The one they kept showing the trailers. I'm like, when is it going to happen?
Why didn't they start singing A Whole New World or something?
It was there.
I thought of that. I really thought of that.
But you know what? Disney will have to buy them out first.
Yep.
DC's still holding on there. WB.
Did we like how they introduced her power of flight? Because I thought it was cool, but there's another issue I had with that.
I was fine with her gaining the ability to fly, because once again, like she can fly in like pretty much most media I've seen her in. I thought the way that it was shot, it didn't look good to me, but
I feel like they did that thing where they're referencing like Superman flying and the cheesiness of it. Because like even some of the things she does, I'm just like, this feels so much like Superman 1. There's like a green screen and he's like holding Lois, you know? Like,
yeah, and once again, that's not something you don't want to reference that.
No,
you don't want to reference that cheesy crap of like a green screen or blue screen, whatever you want to call it, with.
When she did the Superman pose, I was like, "Are you?"
I think it was all supposed to be like. I feel like they tried to shoot scenes in an emotional tone, if that makes any sense. Like they tried to make it feel like this freeing, floating thing when she's flying, and also like encompass her emotions of like this is something that reminds her of someone she loves, and this was like his gift to her. But at the same time, like I think the like what people are talking about this movie where they're like, I wish it was more Wonder Woman. The sad thing about this movie is it is very fucking Wonder Woman if you break it down about like who she is as a person, like whatever. What you were hoping for was I want to see this badass woman absolutely fucking destroy people. Like that. Like this was so cheesy. Like this is all of Wonder Woman. Like this went back to like the earliest comics to like now hitting on some like very specific points through all of her stories, brought up like the weirdest fucking references to shit like that I enjoyed and loved. But it also did it in this like they're pushing her movies and her character to be like, because things are so fucking bleak in our world, they're like, this is about hope and love. The first movie was all about love. It ended and she said like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to be love. I'm going to like show the world how to love and be. And then this movie was the same thing. She ends it with the same shit. And as cheesy as that is, they went full fucking cheese with this movie. So that's how it was going to be.
It's true.
So,
did I want to see her do more? Yeah.
So random thought I had from this movie and is when they're showing the photographs of her, like I seriously thought, what was she doing during World War II?
No, it was there. So hold on. That's one of my favorite references in this movie.
Yeah.
And it was her and was it Etta? What was her name? I think it was Etta. Yeah, her and Etta liberating a concentration camp. And that was their way of sneaking it in because when they did Justice League, they just completely made it seem like she was fucking like gone off the earth for all the time. So I was like, no way does Wonder fucking Woman avoid World War II and all those horrible fucking atrocities. Like, she just was doing shit on the down low, kind of like, you know, when you see Black Panther and they're doing all these secret things where they're helping out these women that are being abducted, but he's like, shh, keep it secret, keep it safe.
I think I would have actually been more interested in seeing a Wonder Woman during World War II movie.
Yeah.
Well, that's why people, like, even my problem with the first movie is I was just like, this was cool, but why did you pick World War I?
Yeah.
And I feel like the only reason they did is because Captain America already did World War II so much.
That's literally the only reason they did it.
And they were just like, well, I guess we'll make Steve a fighter pilot in World War I.
Well, I think one reason they did World War I was because World War I wasn't necessarily a good versus evil conflict. It was like a tragic loss of humanity from all sides. But I know, but most people think World War II like fucking Nazis, fucking Japanese,
fucking Americans that ignored the plight of the people that were being killed until it was financially a good idea for them.
Yeah.
I liked going back to the flight. I love that she gained the power. I love how it connected to Steve. My biggest problem, remember that awesome shot from the preview that we were like, holy shit, she's riding the fucking lightning.
Yeah.
And then it's ruined in the movie. You know why? Because every other shot is the fucking lasso of truth. So then she
lassos a goddamn airplane.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's a whole thing. So anyway,
I know.
Like, I like that they showed different uses for the lasso. But at the same time, like, I was excited for the Ride the Lightning scene because that was the part where I was like, holy fucking shit. And the thing is, that's also a comic reference because she is able to harness and control and, like, reflect lightning because of, once again, she is a child of the fucking gods. Yep. It is a whole thing with Zeus that she's able to do. She can't just, like, automatically make, you know, lightning and stuff like that. But at least she can use it and in a way that doesn't harm her. So I thought that was awesome. And I thought that what it would be tied into. Another downside of this film is like they reference so many different gods and they mentioned there are many gods, you know, like stuff like that. And I was hoping that maybe they would like thread a little bit to be like, okay, so now we're going to get some weird like god shit because DC has some crazy fucking god shit that happens sometimes. And Marvel too with the celestial bodies, but we know I've ranted about that before. And like, I like that they picked, like, I guess, a random fucking, like, a god that exists, like, he has shown up all around the world because he's, like, the trickster god or, like, the one that's like, oh, everything comes at a price. I'm not even going to get into the Mayan dude because that kind of lost me a bit. I was like, there wasn't a reason to bring up this random.
Yeah.
He wasn't even really Mayan, too. That's what gets me. That guy was not.
Lastly,
I don't know.
Going into kind of new stuff with her, it's something that I've complained about the entire time I've seen the previews. The gold suit at the end, did it work? Yes or no?
The gold suit, once again, I think was just a thematic decision. They made up this character that doesn't exist in the comics. Like, the gold suit exists. That specific character, it starts with an A, I don't remember.
Asteria or something?
Asteria, she isn't really a thing. That armor is important and has been used in the comics before, and I knew immediately why they made up Asteria, because like they purposely made it so like you had to do this competition to win the armor. It was the same with like at first when she had to steal the suit and leave with it. Like that armor wasn't for her in the first movie either, like her normal outfit. It's for the best of us, things like that. So it all tied into the fact that she had to learn from, good old Aunt Robin Wright, Antiope. That like she had to earn things, like you can't just cheat it, you can't, like, even if you think you're doing things the best way. Like the downfall to Wonder Woman in the beginning was that she kept looking behind her. She kept concerning herself with like how well she was doing or what everybody else was doing, that she wasn't focused on her own goal or getting there honorably. So the fact that that was the prize at the end of the triathlon, or whatever the fuck you want to call that, the Olympics, and then the fact that she's had it all these years because she keeps all these relics and stuff, but she never even thought, I'm even doing good things for this world. She doesn't consider herself the best of humanity, even though everybody tells her she will be. She's the best that this world will give. She doesn't think she's deserving of that armor. And she puts it on to fight and be this warrior. And in the flashback, they only show that the warrior uses it as a shield to protect herself and hold back the tides of men from going after the Amazons and giving them a chance at freedom. So thematically, I think it made sense that she had the armor. I think people were expecting it to be some sort of like Goldar level, like she's going to do some crazy shit in this armor. Like it was to fly and glide after she kind of learned the power of flight. It was to look cool, and ultimately it was going to be defensive. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that you only know if, like, I guess you know about it. That being said, like, you kind of want to see her fuck shit up, but like the fact that it was like made of all the Amazon armor and then Cheetah was just tearing through it, it was a plot device to show how fucking insanely powerful Cheetah got. And also the fact that like Diana kept being on the defensive the whole movie, trying to win the battle, trying to do things peacefully. She still kind of does. She doesn't let Cheetah die, but at the same time, she had to eventually be like, boom, let's the wings go, like, let's fucking fight. So overall, it's just another example of like what she thinks she doesn't deserve. She keeps thinking she doesn't deserve things. So it was a prop. It was a tool.
I did think that kind of moving on from the golden armor for a moment, I didn't like the ending of like everybody in the world just takes back their wish, including the religious fundamentalists, like the Taliban and everything. Were like, oh yeah, I should give back those nukes that I got.
I was gonna say, but that's the thing. I don't think everybody did.
Right. I hope so.
Well, they showed
I know a lot of people did.
Dude,
I know, but like that's another thing. So the one thing that is probably the most disappointing to me in this movie is just like, I know they did the 80s tropes pretty bad, and I know some of these things were like made sense in the 80s, but there were some racist tropes that I was like, ooh. And they really whitewashed DC. I was like, I know this is the 80s, but like, come on, man. Throw me a bone. Yeah. The homeless guy was like the only black man we saw for a while. He was good though. He was like,
yeah.
What you doing, Cheetah?
Let's talk about the post-credits stinger before we rate it.
I'm ready.
Go at it.
So this is what I wanted to include with the armor. So in the flashback scene when she's like defending, blocking from the men and stuff like that, and then Wonder Woman says like, I only ever found the armor. One, you knew she was going to be alive. Two, in that flashback scene, you see her eyes. And I thought this was a very interesting choice because as I was watching the movie, the fact that they had this like, this iconic warrior, whatever, but you don't see the actor's full face. So I was like, wait a minute. And I saw the eyes and I was like, those eyes look so familiar. So when this ending scene happened, I was like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it. And we knew she was going to like kind of cameo in this movie because they've done so many clothing references. Yeah. And also they like kind of showed that she was like, when they were filming this or whatever, she was like, oh, and it's going to be great. Thought she was going to be like a background character maybe until I saw those eyes in the beginning of the movie. And then I went, no fucking way. But I thought that was going to be it. I thought at the end of the movie, they just would have like gave some reference that was her. But then, oh man, she's been living. And also, this was their low-key way of saying, hey, that Wonder Woman TV show that happened in the 80s, 70s and 80s or whatever, technically could have still happened. That was their little like, ding, she's been on her own, doing her own thing. I know she called herself Diana Prince. I know she was still in the U.S. and shit. But this was their way of being like, in our version, she still is and will always be Wonder Woman. Just a different Amazon. And I was like, ah! like that they didn't have her do too much. It was just like a little act of like saving people. And they had it so like you knew it was like a wig. And my mom was kind of like, what if it's Cheetah? What if she's like going around the world trying to be good like Wonder Woman? But I was like, hold on there. And then she turned around and I was like, ah! Anyway, that's the best part of the movie. Heavy-handed as it may be. Fan servicey as fuck.
Yeah, I just viewed it as fan service.
Linda Carter, baby. That's all you got to say.
Oh, I didn't actually like do the reveal. I was being
no,
so
it's okay.
vague.
It was Linda Carter.
Sorry.
Awesome.
Yes, it was
the original
Linda
Wonder Woman.
Carter.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's all it was to me. It was just
Yeah.
a cute little way to
It's
get
a
Linda
cute little
Carter in
head
the
nod.
movie.
Though I do wonder if that's setting her up to be have a large role in the third movie. She's doing TV. Like she was in season of Supergirl. So I mean, she's doing stuff. We'll see.
All I know is the eyes gave it away.
Yeah.
I love foreshadowing.
Let's give our EIP film reel score out of 5. I was about to say 10.
Yeah,
out of
almost said
5 fanny packs.
What?
It's the 80s.
I'm trying to think of a funny way to say this so you guys do first.
I'll give it a 2.5. As I said, it was average at best. It didn't flow that well. There was so much of it that could have been cut or reshot different scenes. It was a mess, in my opinion. It had good moments, but it was a mess overall.
It's a delicious mess. It was basically eye candy, like for like just goofy 80s cheesy shit. So, like I said on Facebook, if you watch it, no expectations, just like watching to watch any film that'll come out in pandemic times. Like, I didn't have any, even as many times as they've announced it and I've known things about it, I've literally been like, cool, they're doing a second movie. I'm going to watch it no matter what. It's going to happen. So, I had fun. I think I had more fun, once again, watching it with my mom because, like, she just got a kick out of it. It's so nice. Like, even she was like, it's just so nice to see, like, female superheroes. It's nice to see, like, it's like, she's been around longer than me. I'm already fed up with the world, and I'm a lot younger. So, it's nice to see that, the little references, and of course she watched like the Wonder Woman TV show when she was younger, so Linda Carter showing up, she was like, oh my god. So I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. So which is 5 minus 2 amazing women that were in this movie as Cheetah and Wonder Woman, plus minus a 0.5, which was the little cameo from Linda Carter. So 2.5 women. That's what this movie was for me.
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 because I really, really liked Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. I thought she was fantastic.
Yes.
I also, there were some really cool action-y things that I liked. I did like how they represented her losing her powers. I thought it was a unique way of doing it. This movie loses me at 2.5 hours, which is like my big problem with it.
He's like 2.5 because it was 2.5 hours too long.
When you're getting close to like Avengers Endgame level, like come on, this is not a
for Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah, this isn't a 10 movie wrap up. Like let's go, let's move along.
Was
people.
it though? No, I'm just kidding.
Anyway, so that's it. 2.5, a 3.5, a 3. Yeah.
I'll add 2 things for the audience, just in case, because I don't want any more messages. If you have a problem with her throwing her fucking tiara, I swear to God, Google it. Read a comic book. I don't know. There's a very specific one, Wonder Woman number 219. Thank you, Wade, for reminding me which specific number it was because I could not find it yesterday. In which she beats the shit out of Superman and kills him in that comic. And she kills him by throwing her tiara and slicing his neck. Because one thing, yeah, Superman's pretty much, invulnerable to everything unless you have like kryptonite around him, which makes him basically a normal human. But he is susceptible to magic. And that tiara is fucking magic, so yeet. Mm-hmm. And then 2, Maxwell Lord does not have a son. So Alistair, if you hate him, I'll allow it because he didn't actually exist. He had a daughter.
That makes so much sense now.
He had a daughter.
Safe.
Right.
And also, I will say that as much as, we wanted to see her possibly snap his neck like in the comics or, save the day in like a brutal way, I like that she let both bad guys live and redeem themselves kind of in a way. I know Cheetah didn't really do much, but we'll see. She at least exists.
There's a rumor going around that she didn't lose all her powers.
I don't think because you didn't see her ungrant her wish. And the thing is, even if it ungranted her first wish, Maxwell Lord did more for her afterwards. It was a bonus. So anyway, that being said, fuck, my train of thought. Hold on.
We gotta go.
It's coming back. Wait, give me 1 second. Oh, Maxwell Lord in the comics helps do a little superhero B-level group that's slightly less than the Justice League. So leaving these two characters open, and the fact that, historically speaking, Cheetah is a frenemy of Wonder Woman, and in this movie they didn't have them denounce their friendship, we could see more of these two characters in the future, whether it's in a Wonder Woman film or possibly later in the DCEU. But we'll see, because this might just be a standalone thing.
Nice.
Okay, thanks, bye.
That's going to do it for our big, finally, movie review episode. Woo! So exciting. Next week.
Oh, no.
Because we had to do these, we pushed back our holiday bargain bin movie. So no bargain bin for the month of December, unfortunately, but we're going to get there. Matt's got his algorithm ready for a bad holiday movie. We're going to do it. And then this is a surprise to you guys, but I got inspired by something on the way here. So this is what we're going to do next week's episode. We're going to do more movie reviews. So we're going to do Bargain Bin, and then we are going to do one of our first ever retrospective reviews.
Oh, God.
No, this is a good one. We're going to watch Tron Legacy.
Yes. Okay, it's so
And
much better. Oh my God.
we're gonna re-review Tron Legacy because that movie is getting because of the re-release of the soundtrack.
It's getting love.
People are looking at it again because it wasn't widely received the first time, and now people are looking at it and maybe changing their minds. And I want to know if we do. So that'll be.
I love it. My prom float was Tron Legacy.
So that's going to be next week. That is going to do it for this week's episode. So we want to wish you guys a very happy New Year. Thank you so much for continuing to listen to Everything is Permitted. We will see you in 2021. Have a good night.
You can find Everything is Permitted on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and YouTube. Everything is Permitted is produced by Rob Bigliaccio, Nikki Veazey, and Geneva Stein-Shivers. Our executive producers are Michael Cox, Brittany Tomes and the Tomes family, and Julian Brown.